Hey everyone, we are in the middle of a major winter storm that continues to impact a huge portion of the country. Chances are, if you were expecting impacts from this system, you are experiencing them right now. But I wanted to get one more detailed update out because there is still a lot happening, and more importantly, I want to talk about what comes next because the pattern is absolutely loaded with potential for another significant winter weather event, particularly for the South and the East Coast. Let me tell you, this current storm is still a beast. We have got one last push of moisture coming through Texas with a burst of snow possible as Arctic air continues to squeeze out every bit of available moisture. The main action now is focused on the mid-Atlantic and Northeast, where a big thumping of snow is moving through. We are talking about a massive system that has impacted over 20 states and is still going strong. Now here is something fascinating that I have been geeking out about this morning. The cold air damming situation across the Carolinas and Northeast Georgia is absolutely insane from a meteorological perspective. If you are waking up in the upstate of South Carolina, the Piedmont of North Carolina, or Northeast Georgia, you might be pleasantly surprised because the main precipitation type has been sleet rather than freezing rain. I have been saying on social media that if you woke up this morning and it was sleeting, you are going to escape the worst of the ice storm. And that is exactly what is happening. By the way, if you'd like specific weather forecasts for your region or city, please leave them in the comments. I'll answer them individually as time allows. Also, if you like the video and subscribe to my channel, you'd be very grateful. Now, let's move on. It is actually still snowing in certain areas of the Piedmont of North Carolina and upstate South Carolina. Here in my neck of the woods in central South Carolina, we are getting freezing drizzle at 23 degrees. The cold air is just locked in place east of the mountains. Now, this does not mean it will not get bad today as things progress, but the sleet is buying some areas time and reducing the ice accumulation. Let me break down the timing of what is still to come. Across Texas, whatever is falling right now. As the main push of moisture moves away tonight around 7 or 8 o'clock, do not be surprised if we get another dusting of snow on top of what has already accumulated. That Arctic air mass likes to squeeze out every available bit of moisture, and it will come down as light snow. In the southeast, the warm nose is ongoing, and you can see it on radar. It is 50 degrees all the way up into almost northern Alabama. Nashville and eastern Tennessee have switched to rain in the mid to upper 30s. That was forecasted well. But in the Carolinas, where cold air is locked in the 20s and even the mid-teens in the upstate, anything falling from the sky is freezing on contact. Here is the wild part about later today. As the main push of the system moves through, I think we are going to see a line of thunderstorms move through the southeast. And for areas that remain below freezing, I literally think there is a possibility we are going to get thunder ice. That means freezing rain or sleet falling with a convective element to it. A thunderstorm of sleet or freezing rain moving through areas still stuck in the 20s. That is a wild scenario, but the models are showing it. Speaking of thunderstorms, there is actually a tornado threat in the deep south today. Southern Alabama could see some supercells with rotating thunderstorms. We could literally have a tornado down there today, while just up the road in Atlanta, it is below freezing. That is how dynamic this system is. Let me give you the updated totals for what is still to come. Across the mid-Atlantic, a good 8 to 12 inches is a solid bet for most of the region. The further south you get, the less you get. But some freezing rain is possible along the I-95 corridor with 1/10 of an inch possible and over 2/10 once you get closer to Richmond and Fredericksburg. The New York City to Boston corridor is going to be a 10 to 24-inch event. Boston is now going for 2 feet of snow. This has uptrended significantly. This is going to be by far the biggest event of the winter for Boston and one of the biggest winter storms they have seen in years. Indianapolis could get another 6 to 8 inches on top of what has already fallen. Parts of Ohio are going for another foot of snow. It is already adding up, but there is still more coming. In the upstate of South Carolina, near Clemson, they are getting slammed with sleet right now and could end up with a couple inches of sleet accumulation with less freezing rain than originally expected. That is actually good news. Now let me talk about temperatures because this is critical. Tomorrow morning is going to be awfully cold. If you lose power, it is not going to be good. Tuesday morning, we'll see single digits all the way down into the deep south. Memphis is going for -4 degrees Tuesday morning. There is going to be a big refreeze across the Mid-South, and any lingering moisture on the ground is going to turn to solid ice. This is going to be an extremely cold week coming up. All right, now let me get into what has me really excited. The pattern is absolutely supportive of another winter weather event as we head toward next weekend around February 1st, and I think this one has legs for the South. Let me explain what I am seeing. The Euro model shows moisture bubbling up Friday morning across the Gulf. By Saturday, it shows snow in the northern Gulf and the panhandle of Florida. The system rides up and shows snow all the way down to Perry, Florida, and along the Carolina and Georgia coastline. By next Sunday morning, February 1st, it is snowing hard across the southeast. Now, before anyone gets too excited or starts telling everyone we are definitely getting a snowstorm, let me be clear about how this works. This is one model run a week out. You do not make grand conclusions from a single model run. The pattern is there and it supports the possibility, but we need to watch how this evolves. Here is what snow lovers need to understand about this setup. You want this system to stay suppressed and bogged down in the Gulf for as long as possible. If it trends too far north too early, it ends up like the system we are dealing with right now, where the south gets ice and the snow stays further north. You want to keep it suppressed until the last 48 hours, and then you want it to creep north. That is how you get a good old-fashioned snowstorm for the south instead of an ice storm. The GFS shows a different evolution with a slower ejection of the energy that does not really come together. The Euro AI shows yet another look where it drops an aggressive clipper behind the main system and tries to connect with the low pressure off the coast. It is a weirder look but still shows moisture and cold air potentially coming together. Now here is the key thing. The ensemble guidance is what I really pay attention to at this range. The Euro ensemble, which is 51 member runs averaged together, shows a signal for something across the southeast and mid-Atlantic. It is not a guarantee, but it is a signal that the pattern supports winter weather potential. I know some people want a simple yes or no answer on whether it is going to snow, but that is not how forecasting works a week out. What I can tell you is the National Weather Service is already flagging this in their winter weather outlook. They have a 10 to 30% chance of a quarter-inch liquid equivalent of snow and sleet for Saturday and Sunday of next weekend across the southeast. The temperature pattern supports cold air being in place. The moisture source is there in the Gulf. The question is whether the energy comes together at the right time and in the right place. That is what we will be watching this week. For those who want the context and details, that is why these videos are longer than 2 minutes. If I just gave you a quick yes or no answer without explaining the pattern and the uncertainty, then when the forecast changes or does not verify exactly, everyone wants to complain about meteorologists being wrong. The context matters. The bottom line is this: once we get through the current storm, we are immediately going to shift focus to this next potential system. The pattern through early February looks active. Cold air is going to be locked in across the southeast. Multiple shots at winter weather are possible. This winter is not done by a long shot. Now for the current storm, stay safe out there today. If you are in the path of the remaining snow across the mid-Atlantic and northeast, conditions are going to be hazardous through tonight. If you are in the ice storm zone across the Carolinas, be careful of that freezing drizzle and mist that is falling. It might not look like much, but it is freezing on contact and making surfaces slick. Thanks for watching and see you next one.